In 1996, I became suicidal, and I checked myself into a hospital. It was caused by a situation at work. It caused me to have a major depression, because when you have a situation like that, everything in your life comes and lands on you. If you've had any abuse, which I had, self-doubts, anything like that is exposed during those moments. I'm not going to go into a lot of details about that, other than to say it happened. I went into a hospital. I had months and months of therapy. I was on medications for quite a while, and it was a struggle. It was an up and down struggle for a while. I took my recovery very seriously and read every book in the library and tried everything, every technique I could find, because I wanted to get well. And in the middle of all that studying and trying and therapy, I had an aha that absolutely changed the course of my life, flipped the direction, and stunned my therapist. He said, I don't think I've ever seen anybody make a 180 like that, but it was because of this one thing. Now, as you can see, I'm in my hammock in my backyard. There's a road that goes behind there. I'll be able to edit out most of that. Every once in a while, if you hear some really big thing that gets through the editing, we've had a souped up truck or motorcycle go up the road, but that's all right. Isn't this beautiful? This is a really good place to be talking about this. This is coming from an article that I wrote in 2008. I've got it on my phone. I want to make sure I don't miss any of this because it's so important. So if I occasionally stop and look at my phone, it's because I'm making sure that I'm not missing any of the key topics, okay? This is one of those things that is so stunningly simple that you might go, this is all? You tell me that you're going to change my life, and this is all you have to say? Well, yeah, because it's that important. And it is what happens with your thoughts, what you're doing with your thoughts. Don't click away. I have more to say about it. Before I got sick and before I became so depressed, I didn't understand thoughts. I didn't even really think about my thoughts. And if I thought about them, they would be like the ocean. You're in the ocean and the waves just keep coming. You don't have any control whatsoever about them. It just comes, and you're floating around and you're just at the mercy of the waves. Whether you're taken deep out to sea or you're washed ashore, you're just there and they're coming at you. And I think that's what I believed about your thoughts. They just come. They just come, and wherever they take you. And there was some awareness that I should stop thinking about this or that. And yeah, that's probably not a good thing to be thinking. But I really wasn't thinking about my thoughts. Truthfully, I wasn't. I would just get something, and my brain and my mind would just go down that rabbit hole and would go here and there. And before I knew it, I was feeling this way, and I didn't even realize why. What I learned is that thoughts are more like water in a ditch. So my grandfather was a farmer, and I grew up in a small town where the way we watered our yards was what we call the water turn. So once a week, it would become our turn, and my dad would go out. There was a ditch full of water that went in front of our house, and so he would put in a dam, and then the water would run out, and it would run all over the yard. He would have it for a certain number of hours, and then the water would just soak deep into our yard. Oh, as a kid, it was really fun. We'd get on our swimming suits, and we'd go out and splash around in the water because there was a lot of water. The same thing happened with my grandfather. When it was his turn for the water turn, he would go out and he would divert the water onto his farmland. And I'll tell you what, those water turns were a serious thing. You planned your vacation around them because you could not miss your water turn, or your property or your crops could die. Well, I figured out that your thoughts are like the water in the ditch. The water's running along, but you have the ability to put a dam in there and divert your thoughts. You don't have to just keep going down that ditch or bob around in the waves. As soon as I learned this and I figured out what I needed to do to dam off the water, to dam off the thoughts, so they would go a different way. That is when my life started to change. I stopped being at the mercy of my thoughts. And very often thoughts will come from outside of you. Maybe somebody has said something, or you've seen it on TV or seen it on the internet, and these thoughts are coming, and then of course you just don't even realize what you're doing. But it's what happens inside of your mind that matters. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Life consists of what a man is thinking all day long." Do you realize how powerful your thoughts are? It is literally through thoughts that everything is created. So Edison created the light bulb. Well, how did that happen? He started thinking about it. He started wondering about it. And he constantly wondered about it. And we all know, I don't know, was it like 1,000 tries? It was a great number of tries. And he just wouldn't give up on it. He was thinking about it all the time. But let's say Edison just got a thought, oh, that was a curious idea. And then he went off and he never thought about it today. Who knows how long it would have taken for us to have light bulbs? Edison literally thought light bulbs into existence. As you're watching this, you're literally creating your future, because what you think about changes how you feel, and what you think about causes you to say certain things. What you think about causes you to do certain things. It's all going on in this play in our mind. Things don't occur randomly when we are doing them. They all come from the stage in our mind. So I heard someone say one time, imagine a thought is like an actor on a stage. So the actor comes on the stage. You decide whether you want that actor to stay on the stage or not, or you can get the hook and pull it off of there. If your thought is determining what you feel, what you do, and what you say, you're determining your future. Yes, things are going to happen to you that are outside, things that you wouldn't have chosen. But it's still how you think about them that makes all the difference. Mark Twain said this, "Life does not consist mainly or even largely of facts and happenings. It consists mainly of the storm of thoughts that are forever blowing through one's mind." So here's the problem. The conversations we have with ourselves are completely private. Nobody knows what they are. But this leaves us free to just rant and think bad things about other people, think bad things about ourselves, to be haughty, to be prideful, to be so critical that we never give ourselves a break, to pump ourselves up, think something that we've done is more important than it is to not be humble. All of that goes on in our mind, and because it's private, nobody knows. Let's say we were walking around and everyone could hear what you were thinking. You better believe that you'd be more careful about what you thought, because it could be pretty darn embarrassing. Say we're being critical of someone else, but you might think, well, there's no harm in it. She could never know what I think of her. I'll just smile and nod, and inside my head I am thinking, well, how silly is that? Because no one can hear me. In my head, I can indulge in feelings of revenge or self-hatred or criticism or any of these negative things. They're there. They're my feelings. They're my everything. I can think those things when we're not thinking about the consequences of what we're thinking about. So have you ever heard of Marcus Aurelius? He was a Roman philosopher. Every once in a while, he had something really wise to say. He said, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Take care that you entertain no notions unsuitable to virtue and reasonable nature." So you got to not give yourself a break about the things that you're thinking about. When you allow yourself to think negative thoughts, you create negativity in your life. You begin to say negative things. You begin to act in negative ways. And pretty soon, bad things start to happen to you. Like maybe you get in financial trouble because you're spending all this money trying to feel better, but really you're just having these negative thoughts and self-comparative thoughts, and they don't deserve this anymore, and if I just get this, then I'm going to feel better. So it all tracks back to what you're thinking about. Maybe you lose your job because you're spending so much time surfing the internet looking for a better job instead of working the job you've got. And maybe you're talking yourself into the idea that it's all right for you to be looking for a new job when you're at work instead of saving that for home. You have convinced yourself to do that, you see. If you lose that job, it's not their fault, it's your fault. But it all came from some thoughts that should have been damned off, that should have been stopped. You might sit around and go, why does everybody else get a break? Why does everybody else have all this stuff that I don't have? And you're just feeling bad and jealous and upset and depressed. And my big thing is, well, this is not fair. This is not fair. It's like too much. It's too much. It's so overwhelming. I can't stand it. I think that was one of my big things. I just can't stand it. I can't stand it. This is so unfair. I'm saying that in a very exaggerated way, but in my head, it felt just that dramatic. I can't stand this. I can't do this. I can't do this. But the truth is, even if you won the lotto, let's say you got 600 million tomorrow. If you're having those kind of thoughts, you're just going to maybe go out and spend all that money, and then you'll end up with nothing in the end. Or you might be like my grandpa would do. He'd put it all in the bank, and he would brag about the fact he never spent any of it because he was so traumatized by the depression that he just thought feelings of lack. He was worried about that. You see, he was worried about that all his life. And he used to like to brag, I never even spent a cent of my interest, because he was just so focused on saving all of his money because that's what he thought about. Where some people spend way too much money. I've been guilty of that. I still do that sometimes. And I've had the other times where I was just afraid because of what I was thinking about, you see. So it's not how much money you have. It's not how many things you have. It's not the people in your life. It's not your health. None of it. You see all these people getting attacked on the internet, or people just sharking. I call it sharking. Let's say someone has made a mistake 10 years ago, and they have even apologized, have tried to change their life and live a better way, but they're just people who won't let it go. They just think about that all the time, and all they can think about is revenge, and I am going to let the whole world know about that. That is what they're thinking about. None of that needs to happen. Maybe the person who made the mistake was just thoughtless and careless, or really did have bad intent, but then they realize, I shouldn't have done that. They apologize, they change their way, and they go on. They've moved on. Their thought process has moved on. But the person who is angry, who's upset, who continues to be thinking about that, they have let that thing that someone else did a decade ago control their life today. And all their life, and even maybe their living, comes from something that someone did wrong 10 years ago. How much better would the world be if they took all that thought and energy and did something good with it? That's up to them. I'm telling you, it's what you think about. Years ago, my nephew Chad went on a mission for our church down to Peru, and he met this guy named Miguel. Now, Miguel was just as poor as they come. He lived in a little shack, and shack was the accurate word according to Chad. It's just 8 by 12. It's the kind that the wind comes in, and just poverty in every sense. And Miguel made his money by selling brooms for $3, and he only made $1 profit for each broom that he sold. Well, Miguel had every reason to be unhappy. He had a hard time taking care of himself, getting the food together. But Chad said he was the happiest person he had ever met. And he was just a ray of sunshine. He didn't have any family except the loose circle of friends that he had gathered for himself. Everyone that he came in contact felt uplifted by Miguel. He chose not to let his circumstances ruin his life and his happiness in life. And that came from what he was thinking about. Absolutely. Because many people would be in that same circumstances and they would just be feeling sorry for themselves and fearful and desperate. And Miguel was like, all right, what can I do? I really admire that. And I think so many of us who are just blessed with so much and so much bounty, and we don't look around, we don't appreciate it, we don't understand, because all we can think about, all we're focusing on is what we don't have instead of what we do have. So that's all good, but what do? What is the dam? Well, here's what I learned, and this is really important stuff. Take notes. Stop the video, get yourself a pen, get yourself a pencil, write this down. There are 4 steps to this: aware, patterns, replace, and reward. So aware is, you just have to become aware of what you're thinking about, because it will be so automatic. And particularly if you've never thought about thinking before, your thoughts are so automatic, they just kind of float by and you don't even know. So what you will do is, for at least 2 weeks, you will just randomly write down what you're thinking about. Maybe you'll set an alarm or whatever, and you're not going to judge them at this point. No, oh, I shouldn't be thinking about that. You just are trying to capture the wind right then and get it down so that you will have a record. And then you go on to the next one, and you're going to look for patterns. Like, what are you thinking about when you look at yourself in the mirror? Are you thinking things like, well, I look so fat. Oh, that doesn't fit me very good. Oh, I've got wrinkles, or, oh, my hair, whatever. What are you thinking about when you look in the mirror? What are the habitual things that just run through your mind so easily that you aren't even noticing them? They just come. Boom, boom, boom. You're looking for those type of things. And another thing is, like, do you take score when you're around other people? And it's a pretty common thing to do. But are you in your head saying, without even, you're not thinking about it, but you're thinking it? Oh, that's good. Every once in a while I say something good. You're not thinking about it, but you're thinking it. So there's this like internal score. Oh, they're skinnier. I'm fatter. I'm skinnier. They're fatter. I'm younger. They're older. I'm older. They're not wrinkly. Oh, they're beautiful. I'm not beautiful. They've got long hair. I got short hair. They're richer. I'm poor. They have this. I don't have this. It's a constant scoring. When I learned that what I was doing, and it's embarrassing to talk about, but I did it. And I wonder how many people do it and they're not even realizing it, because I was so unhappy with my appearance. I got teased about being fat when I was a kid. I wasn't fat, but I thought I was fat. And without realizing it, I started taking score. So let's say I was going through a mall. Skinnier, fatter, skinnier, fatter, skinnier, fatter. Oh, really fatter. I'm skinnier. Oh, you see what that is? If someone's fatter than me, then I can feel better. But if someone's skinnier than me, I can feel worse. Those were actual thoughts when they were just running through my head. I wasn't purposely going, oh, is she thinner or heavier than me? It was just a scoring system that was going on, and I didn't know I was doing it till I started looking at my thoughts. Another one is, do you have constant thoughts of scarcity? Like, oh, you see, things just don't go right for me. Everything goes wrong. I have to correct my husband on that sometimes. He tends to go into the negative, like, oh, these things just happen. And he's so concerned about the world right now and all the bad things that are happening. And he's concerned about it to a fault, where I say, you're not going to be able to do anything. And you just cannot let this make you feel fearful and afraid. It's not what's happening. It's what you're thinking about it, you see. Do you go into to those negative thoughts, every time you have the smallest setback, you get in the car and you realize you've got a spot all over your pants and you're like, oh, yeah, this thing always happens to me. You know, does your mind automatically go to those thoughts? Are you always constantly living in the past or the future? You're not living now. You're not noticing now. You're not here going, wow, this hammock is great. I love my trees. But you're thinking about maybe the bad, sad thing that happened before, or the longing for the good old days, or else when this happens, I'm going to be happier. Oh, I'm going to enjoy this. You know, it's going to be so much better than it is now. Once you get track of what you're thinking about and you notice the patterns, because there will be patterns. You will find them. I promise you, you will find them. If you're being honest when you're writing them down, just the observations, that's really critical. You don't be critical of your thoughts at this point. You're just noticing them and you're looking for patterns. Then next we go to replace. Once you realize what you're thinking, then you're going to start watching for those patterns and you're going to replace them. And this works faster than you could imagine. So if you have a tendency, which I used to have this tendency of, I can't do this is too hard, I learned to say to myself, I can do hard things. Or I would say, yes, this is hard, but I've done hard things before. Or, yes, this is hard, but I've gone through hard times before and I'm okay. And I would do that every time I catch myself saying, this is too much, this is too hard, I cannot do this. I would say, yeah, this is not fun right now, but you've gone through worse times before and you can do this. No one was saying it to me, I was saying it to myself. And it really made a huge difference. Write that down. Write that down. I've been through hard things before. I can do this too. Write that down. That's so important. Another one is suddenly find yourself feeling like, well, it's not fair they have those things and I don't have those things, and a sense of lack and deprivation. I learned to say to myself, there are plenty of cookies to go around. There are endless number of cookies to go around, people. This world is not an end sum. There's only so much game. This is not a pie where you can only cut a pie into so many pieces. These are cookies. You can make as many cookies. They're individual cookies. You can keep making cookies. You can keep giving them. God has endless resources. It's people that think that there are not enough resources. We have decided that somehow there are enough cookies to go around. Here's even more important. It's just to be grateful for the cookies you've got. If you start using those replacement thoughts, you're going to see this turnaround really pretty quickly. You'll realize this mountain of trying to change your thoughts just gets shorter and shorter and shorter. You'll realize, I'm not in the ocean drowning. I don't have any control. You'll realize, oh, stop it. I'm thinking this. Stop it. I'm thinking I can't do this. It's too hard. Stop it. It really does work. Well, I know this might have been a challenging video. You might have gone, well, this is not news. I hope you will really think about what I've said. And if you need to, go back and watch it again, take notes. This really literally does have the power to change your life. It has helped me be able to have the power in myself to build a multi-million-dollar company, to have really high-powered jobs, to get through some really tough situations with employers, to get COVID, long COVID, lose my job because I was ill for a year, and come out of it with intact mental health. It's because I learned the skills of changing my thoughts so that I'm literally thinking the types of things that I want to think about more than 50% of the time. I hope this was helpful to you. If it was, please give the video a thumbs up. I'd love to hear what you think in the comments, not you tattling on yourself, but I'd like to know what you think about the topic in the comments. There is more coming. I promise you, I have years worth of things to talk about. And I'll see you next time. Bye.